Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Was Adopted in a Good Home, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Sarutobi had just come back from getting a bite to eat before returning to his undefeatable foe of paperwork, when he found a fox with a bag slung around its end sitting on his desk. The old Hokage sighed. Whenever there was a fox on his desk, it meant Naruto was sending him a letter, and usually a headache for him as well. Might as well get this over with. After dismissing the polite summon, he unrolled Naruto's latest missive. Hey old man. You know the C-class mission you sent us on? It's not. We ran into the Demon Brothers on our way to Wave, but since we took them out pretty easy, and we couldn't abandon our mission without looking like idiots, not to mention you probably wouldn't give us another fun mission for another month or so, we decided to keep going. Once we got to Wave we were ambushed again, but this time it was okay. I don't know if Kakashi-sensei is sending you anything, he should be, so I figured I'd write you. I ran into the people I was training with over the time I was gone. They were working for this guy Gato who has basically taken over the country, but I talked them out of it. They don't know if Gato hired any more ninja, cause they didn't know that the Demon Brothers had been hired, but they do know that he has basically an army of bandits that he plans on using to overrun the whole country once Tazuna is killed. So we need to deal with a bunch of bandits that number in the hundreds, possible missing nin, a country with low moral, and a crazy rich crime lord. I figured you should know, and that we could probably use some reinforcements. If there's nobody available, we should be fine as long as we don't come across anyone else as strong as Zabuza and Haku. There shouldn't be, because missing nin like Zabuza cost a lot of money. Well, they do if you pay them. So, that should be all. We could use reinforcements if you have them, and I'm working on convincing Zabuza to come back to Konoha with us. Before you go crazy about his being a missing nin who KS everyone in sight, you're wrong. He had his reasons for doing what he did to get kicked out of Kirigakure, and the good ones. He might not come back, but I know he's tired of running from Hunter Nin, and if you take him in, Kiri won't bother coming after him cause he can beat most of their hunters and they have enough of their own problems. So if you could tell the Anbu and gate guards not to attack him if he comes by, that would be great. Naruto, future Hokage. Sarutobi paled as he read. Not only was Naruto not on a C-class mission, but it was now at least an A-class. Bandits were an easy obstacle for a good genin team, but a veritable army was not something for a single team of new graduates. And missing nin was something that Team 7 weren't ready to be set up against. Not to mention Momoki Zabuza was a former member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. A person like that was something he would send multiple Junin after. Sarutobi was worried that Kakashi would have trouble with someone like him. The Hokage stopped. He trusted Naruto. Naruto may be an idiot some of the time, but he did the right thing. Not necessarily the most intelligent thing, but Naruto did the right thing. He was able to change people, he could do things other people would call impossible, and if nothing else, he had the best luck of anyone in Konoha. If anyone could pull off a mission like this one, Naruto could. That didn't mean he wasn't going to send reinforcements though. He called to the Chunin outside his office, "Get me Anko and Guy." Anko was happy. She had just been called to see the Hokage for an A-class mission. Those were fun. A-class missions meant either assassinations or lots of fighting, 2 things she really enjoyed. When she went in, her mood dropped slightly, seeing Guy there as well. Guy was strange. He wore green spandex, shouted a lot, wore insanely heavy weights, trained constantly, and was bringing up a genin in his image. His attitude and near constant shouting turned off nearly everyone who came close to him. Guy was also one of the best shinobi in the Leaf. He knew more about taijutsu than anyone else in the Leaf, bar none. And if ever really forced to use it, his ninjutsu was still Junin level. He was able to do missions that were considered suicidal and come back safely. If he was here, that meant this mission was important. Anko-chan, thank you for coming so quickly. We have a situation in Wave Country. Anko cut him off. Wait, isn't that where Naruto just took a mission to? Sarutobi's face was grave. Yes, it is. And this mission has to do with him. However, before I tell you what this mission entails, I must ask you to remain calm. I have just received a scroll from Team 7 reporting that their mission was not a C-class as first thought, but instead an A-class. An A-class missing nin by the name of Momoki Zabuza ambushed them after reaching Wave. However, and I would not have believed this if it had been anyone other than Naruto, but Zabuza was friends with him and has decided to help us instead of assassinating our client. Anko nodded. You're right. No one but Naruto would befriend someone like that. He said he trained with Zabuza and his partner on his training TS. Zabuza gave us what he knows about Gato's forces. He doesn't know if there are any other nins, but there is a bandit force numbering in the hundreds. Other missing nin are a possibility, and Team 7 is requesting backup. What are our orders? Guy asked in a serious tone, one he used when there wasn't time for messing around. The primary orders of the mission remain the same. The genin will protect Tazuna until the bridge is completed. Orders for U2 and Kakashi are to take out Gato and his forces. Their lives were forfeit the moment they took action against Konoha Nin. We also need to help Wave Country. They give us a great deal of business, and we need to free them. It will benefit both of us. The genin are not to engage enemy nin, bandits only. They can help dispose of the bandit forces, but I want them to be back up as much as possible. Above all, make sure everyone comes home. I don't want any losses on this mission. Even if it means you have to come back without completing it. If the mission is out of the range of your team, leave. We'll decide what to do then. Anko nodded her understanding, not just in mission mode now, but also in the mindset of a protective sister. Guy, though, had a question. Hokage-sama, I request to bring my team along with us, he asked in the same, strangely serious voice. Why? Genin should not be on A-class missions. Guy nodded to the point. Yes, but I feel they would good assistance. They would be under the same stipulations as the other genin, and I was going to request another C-class mission for them tomorrow. With this mission, I think they would be more than satisfied. You know they are more than qualified to destroy bandit camps, and have done so before. If the unyouthful forces we will be facing are as strong as you are mentioning, they would be most excellent assistance. I would like them on this mission. It would also help them learn to work with other teams. Sarutobi had to agree with the Green Beast's logic, but that didn't stop him from wanting to keep genin off a mission like this one. But they would be good reinforcements, and this mission could use all the people they could manage. And with the number of Junins on this mission, the genin wouldn't be in too much danger. He only had one solution. Very well, but only if they agree. Tell them the circumstances, and if they don't want to go, do not force them. They would never be considered for this type of mission normally, but with the Chunin exams so close, we don't have the spare manpower to send the higher ranks on this mission. Leave as soon as possible. Dismissed. 45 minutes later, Anko and Team Guy were sprinting towards Wave Country. Tenten had agreed to go the moment she heard Naruto was in danger. Lee wasn't about to abandon a comrade or disappoint his sensei, so there was no way he was going to refuse the mission. Neji felt that it would be a good way to get out from under the main house for a while, and if Lee accepted a mission that he didn't, there was no way he would ever hear the end of it. He might not have cared about the challenges Lee tried to get him to participate in, but he would be damned if he gave the spandex freak another reason to shout. So Naruto, would you mind telling me just how you came to be friends with an A-class missing nin? Kakashi, Naruto, Zabuza, and Haku were all sitting in the living room of Tazuna's house, preparing to get all the information out on the table. Sasuke and Sakura had been sent out to scout the general area surrounding the house, seeing as how Kakashi predicted this would touch on Naruto's secret, and that was something they didn't need to know right now. The permanent residents of the house had likewise been banished to other areas of the home. I was chasing a rabbit for lunch early on in my training TS, and I chased it through their campsite. Turns out it was Haku's rabbit. They seemed to think I was a threat or something, and attacked. I dodged the big sword thrown at me, and most of the senbon, but Haku ended up hitting me pretty quickly. After I woke up, we talked for a bit, well, Zabuza and I threatened each other, and then we talked, and then after a long time of discussion, we ended up agreeing that I would get to train with them until I needed to get back to Konoha. Kakashi kept his stern look. And just what did you agree to in order to get this? Naruto shrugged. Don't give away the position to Hunter Nin, listen to them when they're trying to teach, and not to let anyone back in Konoha know I was being trained by an A-class nuke nin. Kakashi shook his head. You didn't have to give up any Konoha secrets. Naruto scowled and Zabuza growled. Look, not every nuke nin wants to take over the world or try to take out a hidden village. Most of us just want to live in peace and be left alone to do some missions. Your history speaks differently. Zabuza snorted. Yeah, right. Because I tried to K your client or because of the coup against Kiri. I know it's not the first because every nin of our level takes assassination missions. It's just bad luck of the draw that we came up against each other when we first met. As for the coup against Kiri, you don't know the entire story, so shut up about things you don't know. The bingo book has you listed as being ruthless and uncaring, someone who killed over 100 people before you were a genin, a demon in human clothing. Naruto tossed in his 2 cents. Kakashi-sensei, most of the village thinks I'm a demon in human clothing, and the bingo book isn't always right. It doesn't say anything about you being a pervert or you being 3 hours late to everything, after all. Naruto was suddenly on the receiving end of a surprisingly forceful glare, especially since it consisted of only one eye. Naruto, you aren't helping. And how do you know what my bingo book entry says anyway? Naruto answered in a matter-of-fact tone that made everyone sweet drop. Ankone-chan has a copy on the back of the toilet at home for when you're going to be there a while. After recovering, Kakashi went back to questioning the nuke nin. Zabuza, is he correct? Was the bingo book wrong? Zabuza shook his head. Nope. I'll let someone else in a heartbeat if I need to, and my famous genin exam went off just the way the book has it written. Then why haven't you tried to complete your mission? 1. The guy paying me is a money-grubbing bastard who doesn't realize I could K him in the space between heartbeats if I wanted. I'm not a fan of people like that, and the only reason I was working for him was because he had the money. 2. While the bingo book isn't wrong, it did leave something out, like Naruto said. And that would be. Zabuza smirked. The reason why the 7 swordsmen went against the Mizukage. Kakashi couldn't keep the look off his face. That reason was something that was highly disputed in the shinobi world. Almost nobody knew what really happened, and those that did, weren't talking. The reason was that the Mizukage was scared of us. He thought we were getting too powerful for our own good, so he tried to K us. The bastard thought a bunch of assassins would be able to take care of us. We were the best in all of water country. No way were we going to be taken out by a bunch of fresh Anbu. We put up with it for the first few attempts, and then we said F it. We weren't going to put up with that. We were just going to K him, but we found out some of the stuff he was doing to people, nasty s that even I don't like thinking about, and so we tried to take over. It didn't work, so we went missing. That's the short version at least. Kakashi, emphed. I see. Haku spoke up. I believe we should stay on topic. What are we going to do now? Simple, we make sure the old drunk finishes the bridge, make sure Gato doesn't do anything, and pretty much save the day. Then we go back to Konoha so Haku and Zabuza can become Leaf Nin. Naruto's simple explanation and the matter-of-fact manner in which he said it made everyone believe him for at least a second. Then Zabuza reacted. Now wait a second. Whoever said we were going back with you? I don't need to be a damn tree hugger. It would get the hunter nin off your back, and you wouldn't have to keep on the move anymore. Kiri wouldn't be able to send anyone after you with all the problems they're having right now, so you don't need to be concerned about Kiri retaliating against Konoha. It's a great solution. I think it's a good idea, Zabuza-sama, Haku spoke quietly. Naruto almost smirked, but restrained himself because he knew he would get hit for it. Naruto knew he had just gotten Zabuza to come back with him. Whenever Haku really wanted something, Haku usually got it because Zabuza made sure it would happen. Of course, his job was made easier by the fact that Haku almost never asked for anything. But if Haku truly wanted to join Konoha, Zabuza would become a damn tree hugger if that was what it took to make it happen. Of course, there was no way Zabuza was going to admit that, ever, and he was going to keep fighting the decision as long as possible. Naruto hated a whiny Zabuza. As their conversation turned to Gato's army and the problems they might face, Naruto wondered if the fox he sent out would reach Konoha in time to get some reinforcements here. He couldn't shake the feeling that something really bad was going to happen on this mission. Okay team, Today we learn something very important. If this exercise is mastered, you can theoretically learn any technique. How to climb a tree. Kakashi looked on as his students collectively sweet-dropped. What? I already know how to climb a tree, Naruto protested. TCH. This is just a waste of my time, Sasuke spanned as he began walking away. Did I mention we would be climbing trees without using your hands? Kakashi asked. How are we supposed to do that, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura questioned, bewildered. With chakra, he answered cryptically. Instead of elaborating, Kakashi focused chakra to his feet, giving him a slight blue glow, and began to walk up the side of a nearby tree, defying gravity as if it were an everyday occurrence. Which, considering how little Team 7 actually knew about their sensei, it might be. Upon reaching a branch thick enough to hang from, Kakashi threw a trio of kunai at his team's feet. Mark your progress as you make your way up the tree. Sasuke and Sakura picked up their kunai and immediately set about the task, but Naruto just stared at the weapon and fumed. Kakashi silently jumped down behind the orange-clad ninja. Something the matter? He asked, hoping to make Naruto jump. Though he might not admit it for fear of retaliation, Kakashi loved annoying people, especially his charges. It was his twisted way of showing people he was paying attention to them, even if he was reading his book. Naruto didn't flinch. Growing up with Anko, who still threw kunai at him on a daily basis, trained him out of it. Yeah, I told you I already know how to climb trees already. Really? Yes. Look. Naruto spun around and stalked up the tree trunk, not running as Sakura or Sasuke were doing, and soon reached the top. Happy now. Sakura was gaping slightly at the last of her class doing something that surpassed her Sasuke-kun, and Sasuke's face was twisted into a sneering grimace at the Dobe knowing something he didn't. Kakashi was mostly apathetic. Ha 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 ha. It was at this point Zabuza decided to show himself. Tree climbing. You're still doing this. The runt already knew this when I started teaching him, and he had water walking down by the end of the first day. And you've been teaching these kids for how long? Geez Kakashi, we had to know tree climbing and have a rudimentary grasp of water walking to graduate the academy in Kiri. Though that may have had something to do with where we were, he added in a thoughtful tone. You also had to K your comrades to graduate, Kakashi said evenly. Yeah, good times. Course they stopped that cause of me. Zabuza shrugged. Anyway, I figured I'd come down and see what you're doing, see if it's worth my time. As it's not, I thought I'd take the runt and see how he's progressed since we parted ways. Kakashi gritted his teeth. Naruto is my student. I will be the one teaching him. Naruto jumped down from his spot at the top of the tree. Come on Kakashi-sensei, I don't need to do this stupid lesson. You just saw I can do it, and I can prove the water walking if you want. I don't need to build my chakra reserves any. I've got more than any other genin in Konoha. I haven't sparred with Momo in forever, and I want to make sure I can still keep up with him. You can keep up with one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist? Kakashi asked in disbelief. Oh, I can whip the runt's ass pretty badly, but he does have some interesting strategies most of the time, Zabuza explained. And he's unpredictable as hell, so he can hold his own for a bit if I don't go all out. He's done for if I do though. I don't want my student going off with a missing nin, Kakashi reasoned. I'm not a missing nin, I'm right here, Zabuza retorted. Naruto tried to hold back a laugh, but failed miserably. Sasuke and Sakura, who had stopped their exercise to watch the exchange, smirked and had in a Sakura laughing respectively. Naruto straightened up suddenly. Hey, if we're all here, who's guarding Tazuna at the bridge? Haku's up at the bridge. Naruto relaxed at Zabuza's answer. Oh, that's good. Training's good and all, but I don't want to have to back to the village with a failed mission just because we weren't paying attention. Naruto, if you aren't going to do the training, you can go guard Tazuna. I was planning on going up there once you got started, but I suppose you can do just as well until I get there. Fine, Naruto sulked. He really wanted to spar Zabuza. Zabuza and Naruto made their way over to the unfinished bridge. Naruto because he had been ordered to, and Zabuza because he didn't have anything better to do. Runt, you haven't told your team Haku's a girl yet, have you? You know how she gets about that. Don't call me Runt. And no, I haven't. They're going to have to figure it out on their own, just like I did. She's already given them the whole, I'm a boy, thing, hasn't she? Yeah, did it last night. Kakashi-sensei will probably figure it out first. He's got the most experience. Sakura will be next. Girl thing, probably. And I don't know about Sasuke. She might have to tell him. She might want to tell him, just to be safe, you know. Huh, what are you talking about? Naruto rolled his eyes. Well, he's the last of his clan, right? He said when we were introducing ourselves that part of his ambition was to restore his clan. But he's got half the village fangirling after him, throwing themselves at him, and he's never had a date. He doesn't even look at them. And he never reacts when I use my Oiroke no Jutsu. Not even a twitch or drop of blood. Nothing. If Haku wants Sasuke to keep his hands to himself, she should probably tell him she's not a guy. Zabuza just grunted thoughtfully. Naruto smirked. And besides, I can't wait to see his face once she beats him. He'll hate getting beat by a girl. I think he thinks girls will never be as strong as guys. Zabuza muttered something like, dumbass, and, girls can kick that prick's ass. The strange duo continued their walk to the bridge, mostly in silence, broken by Zabuza's grumblings. Sasuke ran up the tree, pushing his muscles to their limits. Sakura had mastered the exercise shortly after the Dobe had left. Kakashi had ordered her to continue running up and down the tree to build her reserves. Now she was collapsed at the bottom of the tree with a minor case of chakra exhaustion. And he still could barely reach the halfway point. How did the Dobe find such power? He was obviously inferior to the power of one of Uchiha blood, but he was slightly stronger than he had been in the academy, though Sasuke would only ever admit that to himself, and then only grudgingly. So why would Zabuza, someone with such obvious power, bother spending his time with the S-Last, when he, the Uchiha genius, was right in front of him? It didn't make sense. Why? He was the one who needed the power. He was the one who deserved it. Power was what he needed to kill his brother, to revenge his clan. He would have power, no matter what. Sasuke, he heard Sakura say tentatively. Sasuke panted as he leaned against his tree, but he didn't collapse as his muscles were begging him to. He wouldn't allow himself to show weakness to anyone, especially not a fangirl. I'm out of chakra and I need to head back. Can you walk with me? Sakura asked rather timidly. No. Sakura nearly fell over from the blunt answer. Oh okay, I suppose. You can probably keep training for a long time, can't you? So walking me back would just cut into that, she justified. Sasuke didn't answer, opting to stare up the tree at his progress as Sakura walked off. The lack of progress was mocking him. He had to get stronger. Sasuke opened his eyes to a wooden ceiling. He blinked. Wasn't I in the forest? You passed out in the forest. Chakra exhaustion. You need to be more careful. Gato's men are still out there. Sasuke looked up at Haku angrily. I'm more than capable of handling a few mindless mercenaries, he sneered. Haku looked at Sasuke impassively. It doesn't matter how strong you are if you are found alone, asleep, and out of chakra. You're lucky Naruto-san brought you back before you were found. Naruto. Yes. Silence. Why do you fight? To get stronger so I can kill my brother and avenge my clan. Is that the only reason? Is there no one you fight to protect? Sasuke's eyes lost any hint of warmth they might have held. No. Anyone too weak to protect themselves isn't worth my time. Haku looked at Sasuke in a way he couldn't quite describe. It was something almost close to pity. But no one looked at an Uchiha with pity. What could it be? I'm sorry, Haku said before leaving the room so quickly Sasuke was surprised. What was that? Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Haku, Zabuza, Tsunami, Tazuna, and Inari were all sitting down at the dinner table, eating. Gintoku was sleeping in a corner. Zabuza and Tazuna were sharing some sake, while Kakashi was reading his book. Sakura was fawning over Sasuke, who was in an eating competition with Naruto, though he wouldn't admit it, and Haku was giggling at their antics. Inari sulked as Tsunami made sure everyone had as much food as they wanted. Naruto and Sasuke's impromptu eating competition came to screeching halt when the duo both rushed to the bathroom to take care of all the extra food they had eaten. Naruto came back slightly paler, but laughing. At the sight, Inari erupted. Why are you fighting Gato? You're all just going to fail. You should just give up. He's going to kill you. He's going to kill all of you. Naruto scoffed. Hey, we're here to make sure he doesn't win. Besides, we already got 2 of his best fighters on our side. Stop worrying so much. You don't know anything. He's just going to cut you down like he does everyone else. Cut it out, kid, you're going to ruin dinner for the rest of us, Zabuza said, waving his hand. You don't know what he can do. He can take anything he wants from you. Inari rounded on Naruto. Especially you. You're always laughing and smiling, you don't know how hard life can be. The clattering of utensils stopped the small boy's rant before it could go any further. The temperature dropped several degrees. Shut up. The command was so cold that everyone had to look twice to see that it was actually Naruto speaking. You say I don't know what it's like to have a hard life. It's you who doesn't know. I don't know what happened to get your panties in a bunch, but you need to get over it. You're not the only one who's had happen to them. Oh why yeah. Inari stuttered, trying to save face. Naruto got inches away from the boy, and growled, I grew up without anyone to care for me until I was 7, and I'm the current Konoha record holder for number of assassinations attempted against me. Damn near everyone in my village hates me. Don't tell me I don't know what a hard life is like. I know more than almost anyone. With that, Naruto stormed from the room, leaving his dinner half finished, door slamming behind him, as he left to go train. Inari soon ran upstairs to his room, eyes tearing, and holding back sobs. I will go speak with Naruto once he has calmed down, Haku volunteered. Even if that stuff was true, which I doubt, Naruto Barker shouldn't have run off like that, Sakura stated, looking at the door Naruto had slammed. He shouldn't be out training at night like this. It's stupid. Haku glared at the pink-haired Kunoichi with such force that Sakura flinched and made to hide her eyes, but forced herself to maintain eye contact, if only to impress Sasuke. If you knew anything about your teammate, you would know that everything he has just said is true, and that he is not foolish enough to stray too far into the forest. Naruto-san is more than capable of dealing with any bandits that may come across him, and he would stay close enough that if he does run across anyone he can't handle, he will be able to signal us. Do not insult someone you clearly know so little about. Haku then turned to Tsunami. Tsunami-san, this rice is very good. Thank you for feeding us. Naruto had dispelled his demonic illusion, revealing his true form, and had been tearing at trees with his claws and tails. He was moving in for another strike when he felt Haku's chakra signature moving towards him, so he set his illusion up once more. She knew about his true form, but that didn't mean he wanted to flaunt it. Not to mention he shouldn't have been using it anyways. If there was someone he couldn't detect, who knows what could happen if information of his true form got out. Naruto-san, have you calmed down yet? Haku's soothing voice called from the edge of the clearing. He panted once or twice before smiling. Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to blow up at anyone anymore. Haku nodded. That's good. It's not good to be so upset. They sat in silence for several minutes until Haku broke it once more. Tsunami-san told us why Inari-kun was so upset. Oh yeah, what did the brat have happened to him? Naruto asked with the beginnings of a scowl. A man Inari-kun saw as his father, and a hero to the village, opposed Gato. One day, Gato took the man and ked him in public, Haku explained with a bowed head. Naruto felt like he had just been smacked in the face with a wet fish. While Inari's situation wasn't as bad as his own back in Konoha, it was worse than Naruto had thought, and Naruto felt worse about blowing up at the kid. He probably needed it to show him that he wasn't the only one with a crap life, but Naruto still felt bad about it. Maybe he'd go apologize later. Who's that? Haku asked, a senbon appearing in her hand, as her chakra senses picked up on someone coming towards their position. Naruto drew a kunai and concentrated. 2 of the signals felt familiar, but the other 3 he didn't know. As the signals got closer, Naruto relaxed a little, but kept the weapon close at hand. I'm not sure who 3 of them are, Naruto whispered out of the corner of his mouth, but one of them is Anko Ne-chan and the other is Ten-chan. Are you sure? Haku questioned. I live with Ne-chan and I've known Ten-chan since I was 7, Naruto answered like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I think I know what their signatures feel like. Well, I hope you're right, because they're here. Just as Haku said, Anko and Tenten landed in the clearing, followed shortly by Guy, Lee, and Neji. Haku stayed on edge, but Naruto relaxed as he saw the Konoha forehead protectors. He had been fairly sure that they were safe, but he had wanted to make sure. Naruto, who's this? Anko asked, seeing the Senbon and a kunai immediately jumped to her hand. Hey, slow down Nei-chan. This is Haku-chan. She's a friend, and is going to be helping us take down Gato. Naruto knew Haku would be slightly upset with him because she wouldn't be able to play her "I'm a boy" card, but he knew Anko was the type to first, get facts straight later, if at all. Frankly, Naruto agreed with Haku's plan to make everyone not close to her believe she was male. It was just safer. In the field, shinobi were ked, but kunoiki were kept. And that was fate that no one wanted happening to them. It was then Naruto really noticed the other members of the group. Ah, fuzzy eyebrows, he yelped, pointing at Lee. Then he shrieked like a little girl. Eek, super fuzzy eyebrows. Tenten giggled slightly at Naruto's antics, absently remembering he hadn't met her team before. She wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not, either. I am Konoha's beautiful green beast, Mato Guy. The larger spandex-clad man proclaimed, striking a pose. And I am the second coming of Konoha's beautiful green beast, Rock Lee. The smaller exclaimed, striking his own pose. Naruto twitched. He did not need to see men in spandex posing. Not now, not ever. Shivering slightly at the sight, he turned to the final member of the group. Who are you? White Eyes looked Naruto up and down before snorting lightly, and deciding the fox boy wasn't worth his time. Tenten growled softly, and glared at her teammate. That's Neji. Don't worry. He's just upset because we had to run all the way here and haven't had any food yet, she explained, making her teammates excuses, whether his attitude deserved it or not. Well, fine. I'll show you to where we're staying. It'll probably be pretty crowded, but we'll manage. As he turned his back for them to follow him, Anko was at his back with a kunai to his tea. Didn't I always tell you to make sure you know who people are before you accept them as allies? She asked as she pressed the blade against his skin. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, and I did Nei-chan. I know what your chakra feels like, and if you could fool my nose, I'd be S already. I know what you and Ten-chan smell like. Wham! Are you saying I stink? Anko and Tenten asked in unison, yelling at the boy they had just punched into a crater. Naruto pulled himself up from the hole, rubbing his bruised scalp. No, I said I know what you smell like, not that you stink. Nei-chan, you smell like snakes and a bit of blood, and Ten-chan smells like steel, polishing oil, and some smoke from the forge. And why'd you have to hit so hard? That's mean. Yeah, well you deserved it for saying we stink, Anko retorted. I did not. Yes you did. No I didn't. Yosh. Guy interrupted. We must put this most unyouthful argument behind us, and find our lodgings for the night. Guy sensei. And if we cannot do so, I will build a shelter with my own hands. Lee. If you can't do that, I will carry us all until I find someplace to sleep. Quick, cover your eyes. Tenten hissed, just as a genjutsu appeared, showing Guy and Lee hugging and crying on a beach, waves crashing as the sun set in the background. Tenten and Neji had become used to this and averted the gaze easily. Anko, who had known Guy for years, did the same. Haku covered her eyes, but Naruto was not so lucky. He was caught full blast. Guy sensei. Lee. Guy sensei. Lee. Anko snuck around behind the duo and smacked them both. Barker. Did you forget we're in the middle of enemy territory? That we could be ambushed at any time. Keep it down, idiots. She hissed as they flew in trees, disrupting the genjutsu and the hug. Anko walked over and slung Naruto over her shoulder, who was still in a state of shock from the genjutsu. You know the way back, right? She asked, looking at Haku. She nodded. Lead on then. Haku called out a greeting to Zabuza and Tsunami as the group arrived at Tazuna's house. Kakashi wandered into the hall and saw who was there. His eye finally fell on Naruto, who was now seated against the wall, shivering slightly and holding himself with his arms across his body. His eyes were glazed over and unfocused. Got caught in the sunset genjutsu? Kakashi asked with a bit of humor in his voice. Anko shook her head. Full blast. There was nothing we could do. It was ugly. Should be out of it by morning though. Kakashi nodded absently, his nose already back in his book. Naruto had been stuck in bed to sleep off the effects of Guy's genjutsu, and the rest of the kids were cramming in for the night. Neji had taken the first guard shift. Guy was challenging Kakashi to another contest before they turned in, much to Tsunami's amusement. Tazuna had gone off to pass out, leaving Anko and Zabuza with the sake. So you're supposed to be the demon of the mist? Anko asked, her cheeks slightly flushed from the alcohol. Don't look like much. Zabuza chuckled from behind his bandages. Yeah, well you don't look like much for someone who's supposed to have been trained by the ex-Konoha snake Sannin. Before the demon could blink, a kunai was pressed against his tea and Anko's eyes were flashing dangerously with rage and intent. Don't you ever associate me with that traitorous bastard. I'm nothing like that piece of S, and I'll K anyone who says I am. Got it? Zabuza sweated at the feel of steel on his jugular. He may have been a member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, but he had been around long enough to know that that meant nothing when compared to an angry female. There was simply no way to defend against them. Alright, fine, don't talk about the old sensei, right? The hell did he do to you anyway? You don't need to know that. But I will K you if you talk about that again, Anko promised, leaning back to sit down again. If it makes you feel any better, my old sensei tried to K me a couple times too, Zabuza offered. Anko narrowed her eyes. Everyone thinks their sensei tries to K them. Don't exaggerate, she spat. You know about my Genin exam, the one where I K'd everyone. Well, my sensei had one of his kids in that bunch. Weak little S2. Should have been dropped long before graduation. Wouldn't have been there if his parents weren't pushing him. But that doesn't matter. My first mission as a Chunin and we run into a bunch of missing nin that weren't supposed to be in the area. Bastard saw his opportunity, and dropped me there and then. Last thing he said to me before he left was, revenge is AB, ain't it? Took me 3 days to get away from them. I cut off their heads and picked up the bounty as soon as got back to Kiri. Course all my requests to disembowel the motherfucker were denied. He had an in with the Mizukage. So my first official act once I was declared a missing nin was to find my old sensei, and cleave him in two. Felt pretty good. Zabuza trailed off wistfully as he remembered his revenge against his old master. Anko's eyes clouded over as she saw the ways she could K Orochimaru. The two lost themselves in dreams of the past and sake, staying up until the guard shift switched and they were forced off to bed. Separately, the group awoke the next day to the smell of Tsunami's fantastic cooking. It may not have been fancy, but it was damn good. Team 7 was still unable to see Kakashi's face behind his mask, and Guy and Lee were ranting about the fires of youth, even under the combined king intent of Zabuza and Anko. Neji was eating quietly, but if you looked close enough, you could see the clenched jaw that came from his teammates' rant. Tenten had long since mastered the art of tuning outer fires of youth, rant, and so was unaffected. Naruto had shivered and muttered something about checking outside as soon as the duo started. However, as soon as the green beasts were about to start hugging, an explosion went off, shaking the house, followed by Naruto's shouts for them to get outside now. The shinobi rushed outside, leaving Sasuke and Sakura to guard Tazuna, and were greeted with the sight of Naruto staring down a group of bandits numbering at least 50. The explosion appeared to have come from a tagged kunai that Naruto had used to stop their advance. The leader of the bandits stepped forward. He was a greasy, stringy-haired man, armed with a sword that seemed to be only one step above the rest of groups. Oi, Zabuza, he called. Gato told me to K you if you were here. He also told me that he never planned on paying you. With this, Naruto shot a glance at Zabuza that clearly read, I told you so. In fact, he was going to use you K the old builder and then K you when you were tired. But oh well, we can do that now, can't we boys? The bandits erupted into cheers and catcalls, shaking their weapons in the air. This seems like a good warm-up, eh Haku? Zabuza asked, as if he wasn't looking at 50 men armed to the teeth. The leader gritted his teeth. I'm gonna K you myself. Charge. It really wasn't much of a fight as it was AS. Zabuza dived in immediately, cackling madly, Anko right behind him. Haku stayed back, still not liking taking human life, and Kakashi stayed on the porch as well, making sure there was another line of defense before the house would be breached, not that he expected it was needed. Tenten picked off the outside men trying to sneak around the sides with her weapons. Neji was using powerful Juken strikes to liquefy organs as Guy and Lee cut a swath through the bandits while yelling about youth. Naruto had run around back to make sure there was no one coming from that direction. He also didn't want to get involved with King the bandits if he didn't have to. King still wasn't something Naruto was comfortable with, no matter how much Kyuubi taunted him about it. Everyone deserved a chance to live, Naruto felt, and while the average bandit had almost certainly wasted that chance, Naruto didn't like King people who couldn't fight back. And from the sounds of the fight out front, these bandits definitely couldn't. Naruto's advanced hearing picked up the cracking of sticks as they were stepped on by someone who didn't want to be heard, moving his direction. The level of stealth placed the person at low tunin at best, but that was still a lot better than your average bandit. Naruto palmed a kunai, keeping it out of sight, waiting for the enemy to make his presence known once more. He probably could have sniffed him out fairly easily, but didn't want to give up his defensive position, not when there could have been another person he didn't know about ready to sneak in the moment he left. A trio of kunai sped towards Naruto's head from the enemy's position, which Naruto blocked easily. The Jinchuriki saw his opponent leap down from the tree and run towards him. He was moving too fast for Naruto to hit with a kunai. He was nowhere near as good with thrown weapons as Tenten, but he did have another idea. Naruto threw his kunai just in front of the man, forcing him to alter his path to just where Naruto wanted him. Naruto threw a shuriken moments later, hand seals following immediately after. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto had not known this technique for very long, the scroll for it hadn't been with the one for the original technique, and he hadn't given much thought to doing something like this. The only reason Naruto did know it was because Shizune had done it with some senbon needles during a sparring match. He had begged her to teach him the technique, but she had refused, saying that he shouldn't even know the original, and wasn't going to teach it to him until he was older. Naruto didn't take this well, and spent the rest of the afternoon trying to recreate it. Since he knew the original, it wasn't too hard, and surprised Shizune with it the next time they sparred. It also surprised the nin Naruto was fighting now, as one shuriken became dozens. Normally, there wouldn't have been so many clones, but with his chakra capacity, Naruto overdid it. Just as Zabuza was cutting the head off the last bandit, Naruto's opponent was collapsing, from the massive amount of puncture wounds caused by his jutsu. Tenten liked to think of herself as a fairly level-headed individual. She didn't abide by most of the fangirl tendencies that too many kunoichi had. She felt that kind of reaction had no place in the shinobi world. Kunoichi had to be just as good, if not better than, their male counterparts, and there was no room for that kind of weakness. That being said, it should also be known that everyone has their limits, and Tenten had just reached hers. She had controlled herself so far through a combination of being exhausted, not quite awake, and forcing out everything for fear of being caught in Gai's genjutsu, but seeing a member of the Seven Swordsmen of Mist in combat was a little more than she could handle. Which leads us to our current sight. Oh my god, that was so cool. Can I say yours would again? I can't believe I'm really here next to you. Can you orthograph this form? Meine Shigarezenton. The entire group sweet dropped as the weapons mistress shot around Zabuza in a comedic fashion, looking up at him hopefully, at one point staring solely at the sword. It was this sight that greeted Naruto as he walked back around the house. The blonde ninja quickly grabbed his friend and dragged her away from the swordsman, even as she hit him over the head to try and stop him. Tenten, he started, what are you doing? Calm down and stop acting like a fangirl. It makes you look like an idiot, and I know that you're definitely not an idiot. I don't want to see one of the smartest and prettiest girls I know acting like Sakura or something. While Tenten was wrapping her mind around the fact that Naruto had just complimented her, something she was still trying to decide if she wanted to like, she had known Naruto for a long time, and he was pretty good looking. Did she really want Naruto to like her that way? Or just as a friend? Sakura started beating the hell out of Naruto, having heard the accidental insult with the special hearing all girls seem to possess. Once Naruto had healed up, Sakura had calmed down, Tenten had been brought out of her musings, Lee and Guy had been brought out of their hug, and Zabuza had cleaned his blade, the group found themselves back in Tazuna's kitchen, discussing their plans now. I say we go in and K them all, Zabuza opened bluntly. Kakashi regarded him with a lazy eye. We still don't know how many Gato has under his command. We shouldn't race in like that. Especially since Naruto dispatched that Chunin that had been trying to sneak in from the rear while we dealt with the bandits. We don't know if he has any other shinobi hired. Sasuke's eyes flashed with confused annoyance. There's no way the Dobe could defeat a Chunin by himself, is there? No, he got lucky. And I doubt that guy he ked was really Chunin level. But besides, even if he could defeat someone of that level, I'm far past him. I'd have been able to take out that nin much easier. But I still need to get stronger if I want to K that man. Oh come on, the genin can take out the bandits, they're Fing pushovers, and half of them are drunk or hung over 24 hours a day. I doubt he's got many more people stronger than that, and even if he does, we can take care of them. Come on, we've got 5 Junin level shinobi. Unless he throws an army of Anbu at us, we're good. Anko interrupted. Wait a second, 5 Junin. I only count 4, and Naruto, if you make any cracks about me not being able to count, I will force feed you a Biki's cooking for a week. Naruto cringed, for he had just been about to make a joke just along those lines. Zabuza placed his hand on Haku's head. At full strength, Haku here could probably beat you. Maybe even Kakashi. Kakashi's face tightened behind his mask, but didn't let it show. I doubt that, he said loftily. I'm not an elite Junin for no reason after all. Zabuza smirked behind his bandages. Keep on thinking that way, you Sai bastard. We'll see who's stronger soon enough. Our mission is to remove the most unyouthful Gato and his forces, and we shall complete it, Guy proclaimed. We must stoke this town's fires of youth once more, and that means we should not allow any more unyouthful attacks like this one. Anko felt another hug coming on, and cut it off before Guy could get that far. Guy's right. We need to take Gato out hard and fast, before he has a chance to mount a real attack. If we can take out his base, we don't have to worry about people getting caught in the crossfire, and we won't just be waiting for the bastard to attack. Alright, all 5 of us go after Gato, and the Genin the bandits. We've got a plan, Zabuza stated. Kakashi stared at him. I believe Team 7 is still under orders to guard Tazuna, not to go after a bandit camp. There's no reason to put them in unnecessary danger. They can protect him by taking out the threat. And if you're so worried about them, keep those 2 here, Zabuza said, pointing at Sasuke and Sakura. But Naruto should definitely come with us. Hell, he's probably the best suited for this job. Really? Kakashi asked, his tone clearly stating he didn't believe the new Nin's assessment. Haku spoke up for the first time all meeting. You should really have more faith in your students, Hataki-san, she said softly, with a hint of steel behind it. Yeah, don't underestimate me, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto defended. I'm just trying to make sure you don't get too big of a head, Kakashi reasoned lazily. Hey, I'll never become like Sasuke team. Barker, don't talk about Sasuke-kun like that. He's way better than you ever will be. No, Naruto-san's flames of youth burn much brighter than Sasuke-san's. Lee objected. Yosh, my hip rival, you should help build up your students' fires of youth. They should never had waned this much. But even so, Naruto-kun's youthfulness is matched by only a few. Tell me, rival, what is your secret? Kakashi looked at Guy blankly. Did you say something? Guy immediately jumped up. Oh, my rival's attitude is so hip and youthful. I must match it. If I cannot, I shall run 500 laps around Konoha on my hands. And if Guy-sensei cannot do that, I will do 3,000 push-ups. And if Lee cannot do that, I will climb the Hokage monument with rocks tied to my back 6 times. Wham! Anko handed the frying pan she had just hit Guy in head with back to Tsunami. Before we got sidetracked, you were about to tell me the very good reason why you think it's a good idea to send my Ototo into the middle of hundreds of bandits who won't hesitate to K him. Weren't you? Asked Anko, clearly threatening. Zabuza held up his hands in a warding gesture. He remembered the night before, and wasn't interested in pissing this Kunoiki off. The runt is a one-man army. Do you realize just how many Cage Bunshin he can make? I've seen him literally make hundreds and still be able to train for several hours. If every clone only takes out one bandit before it SS, that's still hundreds of bandits we don't have to deal with. Not to mention I've seen him heal faster than almost anyone, if one of the bandits do manage to get lucky and get a shot in on the real him. Really, he's our best bet for this to work. HMPH, Sasuke grunted. I don't see why you'd ever want more of him. All he'd be doing is making more useless blondes. As soon as he finished talking, 2 cuts appeared on either cheek. Anko and Haku lowered their hands from their throwing position. If that's all you've got to say, you do well to keep your opinions to yourself, Uchiha, Anko spat. But if you don't, I've been looking for someone for target practice, Tenten grinned. Normally, this would be the point in time where Sakura would jump in to defend her crush, but right now, she was shaking under the oppressive atmosphere that had descended upon the group. Sasuke's grunt broke the silence, and the Kunoichi accepted that as an agreement. We still need a plan for this to work, Haku said softly, bringing the group back to task. What's Gato's holdout like? Anko asked. I've only been there a couple times, mainly cause the midget bastard was afraid I'd K off all his men. Zabuza smiled darkly. Guess he was right about one thing. It's a big bandit camp, but no better organized than any other. Stupid bastards. Most of his forces are surrounding the main complex in a tent city, fairly sprawling and rather poorly defendable. Guess they never thought anyone would be brave enough to attack them head on. They should go down easy enough. The main building is several floors, 3 and a basement. Gato has enough room to hold roughly 100 men in there, and their fighting from a defensive, fortified position acts as a multiplier, but that's offset by the fact that they'd be fighting mostly in hallways, so their numbers won't mean as much, and that we're actually trained. Any other ninja he's hired will probably be in here as well. Everybody understand? Everyone looked at Zabuza with a shocked or dumbfounded expression, barring Haku and Naruto. What? The eyebrowless nin snapped. Kakashi regained his speech first. I think we're all surprised that a missing nin would be so good at strategy, he said lazily. Zabuza's eyes narrowed and he placed his hand on Kubikiri Haucho. Just because I choose to think for myself, doesn't mean I've lost all ability to plan. Before I left Kiri, I was in Anbu and one of the 7 swordsmen. All that training hasn't gone away. And as for strategy, running from hunter nin forces you to get better at it. Missing nin aren't the idiots you seem to think we are, but if you insult me like that again, I'll cut your thing head off, Hataki. Everyone was sweating under the king intent Zabuza had brought to bear, and Kakashi stared at the demon of the mist intently before returning his attention to his book. The females gritted their teeth at the sight of the orange novel. So, what is our youthful plan? Guy asked, fairly seriously. Leave 2 of the genin back here to protect your target, Uchiha and Pinky, Zabuza grunted. Kakashi can stay back here too, just because I know he won't want to leave his precious students alone. Haku, Naruto, the girl with the weapons, and myself can deal with the forces outside. Hyuga, the spandex twins, and Anko can deal everyone inside. Unless he's moved it, Gato's office is on the top floor. Any prisoners will probably be in the basement. I don't know Konoha's opinion on taking spoils, but I'd say you'd find vaults down there as well. Does everyone approve? Several of the group were annoyed at the sight of a new nin taking control of their mission. Kakashi was upset simply because he was the senior Junin on the mission, and in his mind, that meant he should be in charge. He was also fairly certain he could beat the new nin, so that counted in his favor as well. Sasuke, and by extension Sakura, didn't like the new nins who failed to pay him his proper respect as an Uchiha for the entire time they had been together, and for them to suggest that Haku could beat him was ridiculous. Neji was having similar thoughts, though it was very slightly tempered by the fact that Neji did in fact acknowledge that there were people stronger than him, driven into his head by the fact that Guy continued to pick apart the famed Juken style every time they sparred. Anko didn't mind so much. However, she was slightly worried simply because of who Zabuza was, and what his reputation was. While she was confident in her abilities, she didn't fancy having to fight the former Kiri agent if he turned on them. Naruto, however, knew they wouldn't turn on the group, and was perfectly accepting of when Zabuza took over the planning. The only thing he was worried about was Zabuza saying the wrong thing to his Nei-chan and getting a kunai to his tea. Tenten was somewhat wary of Haku, but was too enamored with the fact that she was so close to one of the 7 swordsmen to be overly concerned. Guy simply wasn't upset with it. For Zabuza to have an apprentice as strong as she was already, his flames of youth must burn as bright as his. And as for control of the mission, Zabuza was the only one with the knowledge needed to get into the unyouthful Gato's stronghold, so it made sense to have him involved in the planning stage. And if Zabuza would help destroy Gato's oppression and help Wave's fires of youth burn once more, Guy was all for it. I'm still not sure I want my students going out against something like this, Kakashi drawled. And it is our mission to protect Tazuna before anything else. If you were so worried about us going up against things stronger than us, you wouldn't have abandoned us against the demon brothers, would you, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked coldly. You did what? Anko snarled, pushing up her sleeve so she could better beat the Sharingan user. I needed to see who they were after, Kakashi answered, slightly nervous. Naruto smiled evilly, knowing he was about to throw his sensei under the bus. He didn't warn us about the ambush he saw coming, and when they attacked him first, he let us think he was chopped to pieces before letting us fight someone with poisons as strong as the stuff you use, Nei-chan. Never mind that seeing someone who's supposed to protect us be cut down easily could cause us to freeze and kind of irresponsible if you ask me. He laughed and scratched the back of his head. But what do I know, right? Sounds like a good plan, Anko said through gritted teeth as she glared at Kakashi. We can set up a time once I'm done this. With a terrifying battle cry, Anko proceeded to beat Kakashi into a pulp, dragging him outside at the same time, so as to keep from destroying Tazuna's house. Alright, I'm gonna go train, Naruto said calmly, as if his sister hadn't just attacked his sensei. Someone come get me when Anko Nei-chan is done and Kakashi-sensei is able to move again. I'll be on the water. Anko had in fact done just as Naruto had said, and beaten Kakashi within an inch of his life. She had even dosed him with a few paralytic venoms when he tried to get away. Several hours later, the silver-haired Junin was just beginning to move again. Of course, he wasn't sure if he wanted to move or not, considering how much pain the enraged snake user had put him in. It was after this that Tenten had gone to go get Naruto from where he was training, following his chakra signature. She wasn't past the rudimentary stages of this skill yet, but she was so familiar with Naruto and he simply gave off so much chakra that it didn't matter. If she didn't know that Naruto could take care of himself, she would be worried about that, but right now, her mind was on other things. Mainly the sight in front of her. Tenten had stopped just at the edge of the brush, out of sight of anyone who happened to be on the water. Naruto happened to be such a person. He was training on the water, using chakra to keep him from falling in. However, it was obvious he had already done so at some point in his training. It was this that caused Tenten to stop. Naruto had discarded his shirt and pants so they could dry out while he created wave after wave of clones to attack him. He banished them with various combinations of a taijutsu style that didn't really seem to have a style, and ninjutsu. The sight of Naruto in just his boxes was what had stopped the weapon mistress cold. She remembered how good he looked in his fox form, and apparently, that carried over, if the drool was any indication. Naruto definitely had defined muscles, but he wasn't overly large like Guy Sensei. The water glistened on his skin, making him seem even more appealing, and the gravity seal on his chest drew her attention to the way his muscles tightened and relaxed as he moved through the mass of clones. Tenten was jarred from her fantasies as someone placed their hand on her shoulder. Haku removed her hand from Tenten's shoulder, showing she meant no harm. He is fun to watch, but we do need to return, she said with a slight blush betraying her. Yeah, we do, Tenten said, and yes he is, a blush of her own covering her cheeks. Hey, Naruto, we got to get back, Tenten called, moving out of the bushes and into sight. Your sensei is starting to move again, so we're going to finish up the planning session. Naruto looked over and saw the two girls coming out of the trees, looked down, and blushed. Gak, what are you two doing? He yelled as he lost concentration, falling in the water once again, mostly hiding his body. Turn around before someone thinks I'm a pervert. Why would anyone think you were a pervert? Tenten asked, her voice a slight purr. Naruto blushed when he heard the question. I don't know. You barged in on me in my boxes, but I know I'd be the one called a pervert, he grumbled. Well, you're a guy, Tenten said, as if it explained everything while she turned around to give Naruto his privacy. Yeah, so it's agreed. We attack in a week. Anko asked the group. I still say we should do it sooner, Zabuza grumbled. Get in, K them all, get out. This was the argument that was going back and forth for the past 30 minutes. One side wanted to go take them all out, and the other wanted to wait to make sure nothing could go wrong. So far, Zabuza was the only holdout left. Just because we have a plethora of Junin, that does not mean we should charge in without a proper plan. There will be genin on this raid, and they do not have proper training in dealing with a mass attack like this, Kakashi said, wincing as he moved in a wrong way, causing one of the injuries that Anko had given him to act up. My eternal rival, have you not taught them as well as I have thought you had? Guy shook his head. Surely not. My eternal rival would never do something like that. Kakashi didn't respond. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.